Kiffin talking about how tough this decision was on him during the various Marty Smith reports during his his press conference at LSU. Miss me with that. Miss me with all of that, because you went on a public recruitment tour and you were entertaining these 4 different places. Apparently, if you're including 4, if you at least say that it was 4 that you could have gone to, you at least know that there was interest there with Auburn and the Titans, whoever this was. You don't answer those calls unless you're set on leaving. You don't. You just don't. And why was Kiffin leaving, according to this piece from John Talty? Beyond just LSU's different. LSU's just different. Heard that many times. Mark Stoops. Lane looked apparently at Stoops' situation at Kentucky, going from being the guy who nearly left for Texas A&M, and he would have left as the winningest coach in Kentucky history. He's still the winningest coach in Kentucky history, to 2 years later being gone. Apparently, Kiffin did not want to entertain any world in which that could happen. And Keith Carter, meanwhile, is like, you've got the most job security of anybody in college football. You've won at least 8 games in your last 5 years. Why would you think that 2 years you could just go 6-6, 7-5 and be gone? And Keith Carter's right. He's absolutely right, because Stoops wasn't fired for 2 down years. And which is part of like what bothers me so much with these coaches, is that they are so self-aware and so smart in so many areas, and how they are perceived publicly is so unbelievably wrong. Mark Stoops was not fired for 2 bad seasons at Kentucky, okay? He is a coach on a $9 million salary who had 4 consecutive disappointing seasons with at least 6 losses. That's why Mark Stoops was fired, and because he got lazy with his offensive staff. And there were other things with that program wherein they can't even fill up the stadium for Florida coming into town, and they can't even have a packed house appreciate the fact that they waxed a team that used to just dominate them every year. It was over, okay? It was very much over. If Kiffin really thought that he was 2 down years away from getting fired at a place where he was already maybe the school's GOAT, why would he then feel like he has more job security at LSU? It's such a dumb, backwards way of thinking that makes no sense, and it's Kiffin trying to play the victim card, and it makes me puke in my mouth hearing it.
So the thing about Kiffin, as I've tried to like understand his psyche, did you see the piece that came out, or it was kind of like a rehashing of him kind of taking his ball and going home when he was at Fresno State?
No, where was this piece?
This was like, it was an old one that came out, but it was kind of like resurfaced in terms of he wasn't being given quarterback reps. And so he kind of showed up to practice in just like street clothes. It was like, if you're not going to play me, then I'm not going to dress out. His dad, Monty, like kind of yelled at him, and he ended up.
Oh no, we talked about this in the E60 doc. No, like that was that was okay. So that was aggregated from that. Yeah,
exactly. It's been around. It's not new reporting. But what I'm seeing is a guy who, it's 2 different things. The unique opportunities that he has been presented in his life have allowed him to do things that other people are not able to do, right? If a regular person does something like that, they're not able to coach the Oakland Raiders, right?
Correct.
And remember, he was coaching the Oakland Raiders at 31 years old, like my age, which is mind-blowing to me. So you could talk about how he got these jobs, you could talk about whatever, but in his mind, he's seeing his experience as something that's incredibly unique, that is hard to relate to, which is, I think, very true. But I think on the outside, if you understand what it takes for a regular person to get those opportunities, it's hard to feel sorry for that person, right? Because all these other people in the coaching circles have had to, work their way up to get there. So I think with Lane, he's kind of seeing it as like, I am this kind of unique, interesting, tortured person. And I think the average like coach or average person is like, dude, kind of get on with it. Does that make sense?
It does. And I understand he never wants to go back to the place he was at again with USC and on the tarmac and all those different things. But my God, do you lack self-awareness if you think all of a sudden Ole Miss is going to give you this extension, which you would have gotten from this process, by the way. Let's not even forget about that. You would have all of a sudden been making, what, $12 million at least, $12 to $13 million at least, despite Adam Schefter going on Get Up saying that Ole Miss just didn't want to pony up to pay Lane Kiffin. My God, read a book, Adam Schefter. Anyway, the notion that that he could have 2 bad years and then all of a sudden they're going to pay $60 to $70 million to fire their best coach in program history. What world are you living in? Like, I've just been blown away, like reading stuff about that, of like thinking that you would be in that type of position when Ole Miss has gone all in for you, all in every possible way, all the branding. They let you do whatever the hell you want. They made up a dog account to make you look more likable, man. What are we
the tea on
doing?
that? How Juice isn't actually his dog?
Yeah, like they just made up a dog.
Yeah. It's a cool, I believe it's a brand partnership with like a local like kennel. Great brand partnership because they had us all fooled.
They did. They did everything for you. Oh, man. And I'm not even doing the thing where I'm like, he should have stayed at Ole Miss forever. Like, I get it. Like, he goes to LSU. But just so many of these things that have come out have made the taste in my mouth that much worse from all of this. And if Ole Miss fans feel scorned, I do not blame them 1%. I cannot wait for that game next year. The vitriol that is going to be in Oxford when LSU comes to town is going to be second to none.